Thank you, Mwalimu Kebiru. Good morning. Wow, wow, wow. How beautiful it is to see you. I've really missed you. Same. Yes. And why hadn't you made an initiative for us to get together? You waited for me to make the initiative. I want to really apologize that we couldn't assemble you last August. I'm sure you know why. We didn't want you to be caught up in the electioneering period and all that. We needed you safe and secure. And unless we are able to guarantee your safety, then we don't make any moves. But we are really glad to see the transformation. When I look at you, I see huge transformation. I think the form is when you raised your hands, I wondered, leader? This leader? So it's good to see you growing, healthy, strong, both in mind and soul. And today, I just want to take this opportunity because, as you know, I'll be with you for the rest of the day. So allow me to do what I've been asked to do, to introduce our chief guest. It couldn't get better. I'm sure you know, under our new structure of government, under the new constitution, we have three arms of government. The first arm of government is the executive, headed by who? The president. The second arm of government is the judiciary, headed by who? And president of? He has two titles, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court. That's another arm of government. And the third arm of government is? Very good. Headed by who? The Speaker. So those are the three arms of government. Independent of each other and with responsibility independent of each other. The objective is to create checks and balances in our governance structure. So as I said, it couldn't get better. It couldn't get better. We now have our speaker coming from the apex of the arm that provides dispensation of justice within the country, holds us to account for what we do, and then grants us justice. So it's a whole arm of government. So having introduced the structure, and of course, as I said, he sits as the president of the highest court. There is, at the very top is the Supreme Court. After Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, after Court of Appeal, High Court, after High Court. So you also, how many wants to be lawyers? Oh, very good. How many wants to be judges? Okay. Our chief guest, these then will be more of your clients. You'll be meeting them with court as they represent those seeking justice to you. So that is Honorable David Malanga, as I said. And today we have invited him. And I may not want to wish to introduce him because he will have 1.5 hours. And within 1.5 hours, we will seek to know who he is beyond being Chief Justice and President of Supreme Court. But I think what Kenyans know of our Chief Justice is humility, fidelity, and lastly, faith. The man of great faith, man who holds himself to fidelity of responsibility given, and above all, a humble man who clothes himself with humility. If I were to become a quarter of that personality, I would be a very happy person. I hope you too will be inspired, not just to become a Chief Justice, not just to become a judge, not to become a lawyer who he was before joining the judiciary, but emulate the character and the personality of our arm of government that dispense justice, the judiciary. With those many words, let's be upstanding as we welcome our chief guest to speak to us, Chief Justice David Malanga. Let's put our hearts together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Please sit down. Thank you, Dr. Mwangi. Dr. Mwangi, the Chief Executive of Equity Group of Companies, the Equity Bank Group managers who are present here, the Wings to Fly scholars, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Dr. Mwangi, have addressed people in various audiences, but I believe this is one of the largest, and particularly so of young people. I'm so delighted to be with you here this morning. To be with you here this morning because in you we see a bright Kenya. We see a bright Kenya. It gives me great pleasure to interact with young people, share a few thoughts about my life, and get to know a few things about yours also, so that we know what country we are building. It gives me even greater pleasure to know that I'm speaking to a group of among the brightest children in this country. Brightest children in this country. Why do I say brightest? Because I have been briefed of the rigorous exercise through which you have to go before you can qualify to be given a scholarship under the Wings to Fly program. It is not anybody who has been picked. It is the brightest of the brightest children. That gives me great pleasure. The scholarships that you have been given will enable you to become what you want to be. I saw some of you raise your hands. You want to be lawyers. Some of you want to be engineers. Some of you want to be doctors, and all the professions that we have available. I am certain that you are going to be what you want to be. I want to take this opportunity right from the start to thank Dr. Mwangi and his bank and congratulate him for this revolutionary initiative, one of its kind in the world. One of its kind in the world. Not only to provide the financial means for young people like yourselves who come from very poor families. I'm told quite a number of you are even orphans, to be able to get what you want to get. This is an opportunity I would like you to take very, very seriously. You owe it to yourself first and foremost. You owe it to your families. You owe it to your country. And of course, you owe it to Equity Bank to succeed by leaps and bounds and to become the foundation upon which a great Kenya will continue to be built. I hope you fully appreciate the magnitude of the opportunity offered to you through Equity Bank's unique program. Many of those who have gone ahead of you have excelled and flourished. They have done us proud as a country. They are everywhere in other countries. They are everywhere here in Kenya. Indeed, I asked my chief of staff to check the universities where Dr. Mwangi has sent students to, and I was amazed to learn that they are everywhere. Students who have gone through this program are everywhere. They are in some of the most renowned universities in the world. You've heard of Harvard University. Where is it? In the US. You have heard of Oxford University. Where is it? In UK. You have heard of others like Cambridge, Yale, Stanford. And of course, you know our universities here in Kenya. Kenyatta University being one of them. The University of Nairobi and others. You are all over. The students under this program are all over. Others have already started doing great work. I've met some working for companies like Facebook. You know, Facebook, it's not easy to get there. There are others who are working for IBM, the computer giants. That is what you should aim for. That's what you should aim for. Those are the footsteps we want you to follow. I've been asked to talk about shaping national leadership and the role of the judiciary. Let me start by talking about the judiciary. Dr. Mwangi has given you the structure of the judiciary. The judiciary, we have the magistrates court is the lowest, with several magistrates, several grades: resident magistrate, senior resident magistrate, principal magistrate, senior principal magistrate, chief magistrate. That is, we call it the magistrates' courts. In the Constitution, it is referred to as the subordinate courts. Then we have the High Court. And at the High Court level, we have two other courts. We have the Land and the Environment, which deals with cases of land only. Then we have Employment and Labor Relations Court, which deals with cases involving employment, labor relations, and workers in various places. Then, of course, we have the High Court, which deals with all the other cases, criminal cases like murder trials and others. From the High Court, if you are not happy with the judgment of the High Court, if you are not happy with the judgment of the Magistrates' Court, you appeal to the High Court. If you are not happy with the decision of the High Court, you appeal to the Court of Appeal. If you are not happy with the decision of the Court of Appeal, you appeal to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court, we call it jurisdiction, is only deals with very, very, very special cases. The first one, of course, you all know, the Supreme Court is the only court which hears the presidential petition. Those who are challenging the election of the president, the case goes to the Supreme Court. There is no appeal from that decision. The others which come by way of appeal are those ones which deal with the Constitution, interpretation of the Constitution and application of the Constitution. And the cases which, if you are a Kamau coming, you must, to be allowed to come to the Supreme Court, you must have a case which, when decided, the decision will apply to literally the whole country. You're not just dealing with those two people who come. So what we say is that the Supreme Court's jurisdiction is limited. Limited in the sense that all these other courts, if you have gone through all these, they have already dealt with the issues. It's only those very specialized cases that go to the Supreme Court. As Dr. Mwangi told you, this is an arm of government. There are three main arms of government. The executive, headed by the president, the judiciary, headed by the chief justice, and the legislature, headed by the two speakers. Now we have the National Assembly, and we have the Senate. So those are the three main arms of government, but we have constitutional commissions which also deal with other cases. These arms of government are independent of each other. Independent in the sense that the president, I can't go and tell the president what to do. The president cannot come and tell me what to do. I can't go and tell the speaker what to do. That respect has got to be there. But we work together. We work together and we come together and work together so that we serve the public. Working together but independent of each other. And that is the structure of government, as we have it in our Constitution. Now, going back to leadership, I will tell you a bit later on the kind of discipline we have in the judiciary. Going back to leadership, this country, young people, requires young people who will take leadership positions to take this country to another level. Given the moral decadence, the moral values that have gone completely in Kenya, we have serious, serious challenges. You you have read in the media, you have seen in the TV, you have heard from people about corruption in the country. Leaders who are in positions stealing funds which are meant for the public. People doing all manner of reckless things. And as a result of that, we want young people like yourselves to grow up and become great leaders in this country. Great leaders in this country. What is required for you to become a great leader in this country? What is required is not because you have come from a rich family. That's not important. It's not because you are CJ's son or daughter. That's not important. It's fine. You can be CJ's daughter. I have children. This is fine. What is required for you to be a great leader is a character that you build, a character, discipline that you have, and it will take you to be who you are. Let me tell you, young people, some of you here may be Christians, others may be Muslims, others may be Hindus, but I want to tell you one thing. God has no second-class citizens. God has no second-class children. Did you hear me? We are all children of the living Lord. There are no second-class children. As a matter of fact, the Bible which I read, God has even greater concern for the orphans. God has greater concern for the widows. Those who are struggling to get even 1 meal in a day. God is more concerned for those people than the rich ones. So I want you to understand, I want you to know that you are children of the loving God. Let nobody treat you or think that you are any less a person. And I want you to remove it from your head that you are any different from Maraga's son, from Mwangi's son, or from even our president's son. No. We are all equal. Before God, we are all equal. And once you have that in your mind, you will know then that what will take you to wherever you want to go is the discipline, is the hard work, and you will be what you will be. There are very many things you are required to do for you to be a successful person, but I have picked 5. And I want to start by the one of being one who fears God. The fear of God. As I said, you could be a Christian, you could be a Muslim, you could be a Hindu, but the fear of God is across the board. When you fear God, you don't want to do things that children of God are not required to do. Young people, we have a serious problem of drugs. Serious problems of drugs. we have young people whose lives have been ruined completely. And sadly, some are coming from very rich families, but their lives have been ruined because of drugs. I'll tell you, before I became CJ, I worked as a High Court judge. I was working in Mombasa. One afternoon, an application is brought to my office by a lawyer acting for a very rich business person. He's making an application. And that Muse was in my office, making an application for me to issue an order for his child to be taken to a rehabilitation center. Then I asked why. He says, look, his brother, who was also taking drugs, benefited by an order, and when he was sent to a rehabilitation center. That Muse was telling me that with tears flowing. I gave the order, and the child was taken to a rehabilitation center. When they walked out of my office, I decided to stretch my feet, and I also walked, and I went to the balcony of my office, and I looked out. That Muse was being driven in one of the biggest Mercedes-Benzes. You know a Mercedes-Benz? Yes, he was being driven out. What am I talking about? These children, remember I told you, he was saying, look, give me an order. I have been given an order like this, and it has helped his brother. What does that tell you? The brother has also gone into drugs, isn't it? And this other one has gone into drugs. So, at least I knew about those two. I don't know about the others. Then he went out and he did that. Later I came to Nairobi. The nature of my work, or the nature of the work of a judge, when you are responsible, is to visit those rehabilitation centers. So I went to a rehabilitation center, just as part of my duty. I met somebody who smiled at me. I couldn't remember him. He shook my hand warmly, and I was there. He says, you don't seem to remember me, Judge. I'm Mr. So-and-so. Then I remembered immediately. This is a brilliant, brilliant lawyer, because he had appeared before me. A brilliant lawyer who went into drugs, who drank alcohol beyond measure, and he ended up in the rehabilitation center. Is that the kind of life you want? Is that the kind of life you want? Avoid drugs like plague. Anybody trying to tell you about the drugs, stay clear of that. You just ruin your life. All this effort that Dr. Mwangi is making, and the society and everybody, and the hopes, you will just dash them. You will just dash them. And I told you, the case of drugs is a serious, serious problem in this country. Avoid alcohol. Let nobody cheat you that you can drink a bit and all that. sometimes the beat can get too much and you get completely lost. So young people, avoid that. If you are a Christian, how many are Christians here? It's a good number. And how many have read the book of Job? The book of Job. Yes. God says in that book, he says, it's a conversation between God and Satan. A conversation between God and Satan. And God says, look, Satan, where have you come from? He says, look, I've been making rounds on earth. And God says, look, I hope you have not gone to interfere with my son who? Job. What did Satan answer? I can't reach that man because you have put a hedge around him. Go and read that book if you have not read it. You have put a hedge around him. You have umemzingira na fence ila ambao siwezi kufika ndani. This Satan was not talking about a stone wall. He was not talking about a kayabo fence. He was not talking about a barbed wire fence that he could not go through. What Satan was talking about is that you put the fear of God in that man, that even if I try anything, he can't change. He is so firm, he can't change. And you read the story of Job all along. He lost all the children, he did this, he did it, he was tried, and even his wife asked him to abuse God. Did he abuse God? No. So what does Christianity help you? What does fearing God help you? When you fear God, you will not steal, as I said. You will not take drugs. You will not abuse people. You will be respectful. You will be a person who has a disciplined life. And you will be a wonderful person in society. And you know what? God has promised. I'm not preaching, but let me use a few examples from the Bible. Because anyway, as a Christian, those are the kind of things I use. God has promised his children who follow him, who follow his commandments and live according to the dictates of the Bible. And I believe the same is true with the Muslims, my brother. Those who fear God, who want to do the right thing. There's the book called Deuteronomy. You can write it down and you will go and read. The book of Deuteronomy, I think it is the fourth or fifth book in the Bible, chapter 28, verse 12 to 14. Deuteronomy 28, verse 12 to 14. God promises that if you fear him and if you obey his commandments, you will be at the top. You will be at the top. And that promise, God doesn't go back on his promises. You will be at the top. So young people, the fear of God is a great, great thing. And it will take you to a lot of, it will stop you. It will keep you away from bad company. The second thing I want to talk about is the company you keep. What company do you keep? The friends when you are in school, when you come out of school, even when you go to the village, who do you associate with? And I don't want you to live a life of isolation. I want you to mix with the other people. Mix with the other people. Mix with everybody. But choose what these people tell you. Don't be driven into company and they tell you, look, let's go here and do this. That's how young people get into drugs. That's how young people get to abuse drugs and get into problems. you don't know the kind of agony the parents go through. I know young people, you are energetic people, you have a lot of energy, you want to enjoy yourselves, you want to do that, but don't take it to excesses. Don't take it to excesses. Sometimes last year, at the beginning of last year, was it last year or the year before? Yeah, I think it was last year. I was being driven to the office. That day I was going very early in the morning to the office. And I saw a vehicle which had hit a tree on Langata Road near Uchumi, the turn off to Carnival. Those of you who live in Nairobi or who have known that. I asked my driver to slow down, and I checked. I saw the police were there. I saw quite a number of people. And we asked what happened. He says these people were involved in an accident, but they have been taken to hospital. So we drove on. I didn't bother much about that. About a day later, I'm told, you know, so-and-so's son is dead. I said, what? What happened? That he died in a road accident here on Langata Road. When? On such and such. I said, yeah, I saw a vehicle there. What happened? He says, you know, these people, these young people, went for a birthday party. A birthday party. They drank until around 4 a.m. They got into a vehicle. There were too many, but they crowded into a car. Even the driver, I think, was having a problem managing the car. You know, a car which you sit two people in front, they must have been sitting like 3 of them. Then the patrolling police saw a car which is moving in a funny way, and they tried to follow it. These ones, realizing they are being followed by the police, they sped. They drove very fast. And that's how they ended up hitting a tree. 3 of them died. Do you see what I'm talking about, young people? 3 of them died. They were in universities. I want my children to go to the parties of other children. I want other children to come to birthday parties of my children. I want you to socialize. But you don't go socializing and drinking until 4 a.m. And you say that's right? That's why I'm telling you that if you avoid alcohol, if you avoid bad company and stay straight, you will be successful. The third thing I want to talk about is what we call deferred gratification, deferred enjoyment, postponed enjoyment. You don't want to enjoy life when there are some things you want to forego when you are young like this, so that you can enjoy them later. You don't want to, for example, you get the little allowance you have got. Have you heard some young people who have been given school fees and they have squandered it and they have not gone to pay the school fees? Have you heard of that? What would that lead to? He will not go to school, isn't it? He wanted to enjoy. As I said, some wanted to drink, wanted to do this or that. I mean, those things will come later. Those things will come later. Stop things that you can do. You are young boys and girls here. And we want you to grow up as great men and women in this country and in the world. young girls, like now, if you begin associating, if you begin having sexual affairs, even at this age, you can get pregnant. Is that not so? You'll get pregnant and you will ruin your life. Last week I was reading about a child of 14, a girl of 14, got the first child at 14 years of age. That's not the kind of things you want to be associated in. Sex is for later years. That's how God has designed it. So those are the things you want to avoid. Enjoyment comes later. You begin enjoying, you will not go on with your studies, and you will fail. The fourth thing I told you is consistent, hard work, and consistency. You cannot stay in school, you are not reading, and say you will go, when you get to Form 4, you will go and read and cram and pass exams. You will not pass. You will not pass. You need to read and work consistently. You need to read widely and move on. These days, some of you may not even have that because of your background. And by the way, it could even be a blessing in disguise. That's why I told you that don't consider yourselves as second-rate or second-class children. No. Some children who have come from rich families have smartphones. They don't even read. They are on Facebook. They are on the internet, doing all manner of things, taking all the time, going into the net and all that they are getting from there is amusement. Amusement, not anything which is helping them. They waste the time and they don't read. What happens? They are very poor, even in English. Even in English. One other thing Dr. Mwangi didn't tell you is that I chair the Judicial Service Commission. The Judicial Service Commission interviews anybody who wants to be employed in the judiciary. And some people come, young people come, some we employ even as clerks. You ask him a question, he can't express himself in English. Within a short while, he has switched to Sheng. To Sheng. I hope, young people, I hope you are not the Sheng group. You can speak it, but you are not going to speak it. You are not going to write it. You are not going to write that. Why? Because these children are not reading at all. I told you they are on smartphones. They are on smartphones, they are looking this, they are doing this, they are doing this. Their time is wasted like that. I want to urge you to read. Get storybooks and read. As you read, storybooks, you get new words. We call them vocabulary. Don't you know that? The vocabulary you get day in, day out. Look up the new words you have got in the dictionary, and the moment you understand it, speak it. Use those words. Keep using those words. They will stick. They will stick, I'm telling you. And I'm talking from experience. I did that myself. They will stick. How many of you have seen, there's a book known as Think Big? How many of you? Yes, I'm happy to see that. That's Ben Carson, isn't it? Where did he come from? He was a child whose parents had separated. He was living with his mother. He says, it's long time since I read that book. He says nobody competed with him being last in the class. Last was his position. Very few people competed with him in that one. The mother kept telling him to read. He says, pick any book and read. Just pick and read. Because of the insistence of the mother, he picked one book, which was on rocks. He read. And one time in the geography class, the teacher asks a question on rocks. And Ben Carson is the only one who raises the hand. The teacher first gets surprised. He says, can anything good come from who? Ben Carson. And he doesn't even ask him to answer immediately. He waits and says, wait a minute. This fellow is raising his hand. What does he know? Then Ben Carson answers that. He says, Ben, you, of all people, you know that? He says, yes. Where did you get it? I read it from such and such a book. And of course, the teacher went hugging him. I can imagine. Went hugging him and says, this is great, this is great. That motivated Ben Carson to read. And he became one of the most outstanding neurosurgeons. You know a neurosurgeon? One of the most outstanding neurosurgeons in the world. The greatest operation he did was of this joined baby, Siamese twins. I read the other book later, which he did, of a German couple. Germany is one of the rich countries. They went all over the world and they were told, look, there is a black fellow in the US. That one might help you. They went there and they were saying, like, what? Because they had come to the end of the road, as it were, they didn't have any other choice. They said, let's try. They went there. They interviewed the doctor for a while. They realized that the man knows what he's doing. And they took those conjoined twins to him, and they separated them, and they lived. That shot that man into the limelight. He contested the position of president of the U.S. He tried initially from the primaries, but he didn't make it. But he's a renowned neurosurgeon. What am I talking about? This fellow came from a ghetto, but simply because he worked hard, he didn't realize the potential in him. He worked hard, and he became a great person. As Dr. Mwangi told you where he came from, where he comes from. Yes. Did he come from Mars? Did he come from Mars? Where did he come from? Some village in, Kirinyaga, Muranga. Some village in Muranga. I spoke to him sometimes and he told me he wore his first pair of shoes when he went to secondary school. And because it was compulsory. Why? Because his parents could not afford to buy him a pair of shoes earlier than that. He went through secondary school. When he was in secondary school, you know these trips schools make to places like Mombasa and others? The school organized some of those trips. And you know those trips, you pay. The parents pay. So he says, look, you pay 5,000 or so, whatever, so that you can travel with others. Mwangi could not afford. Mwangi's mother could not pay that. So he could not go. He missed quite a number of those. But that did not distract him. He still studied hard. and they passed these exams very well. Now, he's the chief executive of one of the most outstanding banks in this country. I think it is the greatest retail banker. He is the greatest retail banker in the world. He serves in positions in the world. Have you heard of Bill Gates? What does he do? He's the owner of the what? Microsoft, isn't it? One of the richest people in this world. Mwangi serves in a board of the Bill Gates Foundation. From Muranga, he is serving a board where? In the US. You're looking at me. Where do you come from? You can easily find yourself in New York, serving in a board in New York. You will be identified to go and serve there. And let me tell you, young people who have come from those very, very poor families and have done very well are outstanding people in the world. Especially in the developed countries, when they see you are a bright young person, they will offer you jobs that we have actually a problem in Kenya. Some of what we call it brain drain. Some of our most learned people are out there serving other countries because of what? But they are the brightest. I was in Canada last month, and I was, the assistant ambassador, you can call him the assistant ambassador, told me, CJ, let me take you to Niagara Falls. You know Niagara Falls? You have read them in geography. So I said, fine, yeah, take me there. So we drove and went there. On the way, he says, there's a lady here I want you to meet. He comes from not very far from your home. I said, I would be happy to meet her. So she takes me to a hotel, and some lady comes, greets me in vernacular, says, I am so-and-so. You don't know me, but I know you. I come from such and such a village, which is, about 10 kilometers from mine. He says, I'm in a university here. I am a professor in artificial intelligence. Did you hear what I said? Artificial intelligence. This is a girl from a village in Nyamira. I come from Nyamira. She was in this university. She learned in this university. She did her first degree in this university. She got a scholarship and went to Japan, did her master's there, did a PhD degree there, and qualified, did her PhD in artificial intelligence. You know what artificial intelligence deals with? These robots. Yesterday I saw on TV robots milking cows. Robots. Did you see that? It was in Citizen News last night. Those kind of things, those are the people who are dealing with that. This girl is a professor there. I said, look, how did you get here? She said, look, I came here and I've been here for hardly 3 years. She's a full professor. You will be told by some professors here. Some professors stay for a long, long time before they get that high. But this university offered him full professorship because they don't want to lose her. They don't want to lose her. I told you, you are not a second-rate child of God. You will make it to where you want to make it. When Dr. Mwangi told me about his background life, I laughed because I wore my first pair of shoes when I went to Form 1. The very first trip, I went from one in Maranda High School in Nyanza. I come from Kisii, so I went to Maranda. On the first trip to Maranda, I was given a lift on a truck, on a sand, the sand-faring trucks. Some driver from my village was going to Kisumu to pick some luggage, but his work mainly was to get sand, building sand to building sites. So he gave me a lift on the back of the truck. When I got to Kisumu, I was red with dust. I don't know. There I went. I got excited the second time we got excited in Kisumu town. We had not been to town those days. And they said, look, why don't we walk around and see how the town looks like? We went crossing the railway line. I was with the two other boys, and they said, look, it is written here, trespassers will be prosecuted. We said, what are you talking about? We crossed, and we were arrested. We were kept in cells. That was about 9 o'clock until 6. Before the end of the day, one police officer came there and said, look, young people, come and air these blankets. So we took them, put them on the grass to dry. And later he came and said, take them to the cells. He says, shake them. You shake and you see dust. And we took them to the cells. So he said, look, you're taking to the cells, what are you going to sleep on yourselves? What are you going to cover yourselves with? I said, wait a minute. Are we going to stay here overnight? He says, but you are here. You were caught. You will be taken to court. Eh? And we stayed there until about 6:30. Some other police officer came. He read the names. And he identified one of my friends who was coming from his home. So he came and opened the cell and says, look, what are you doing here? Where were you? He was so hard, so close, he wanted to even beat us up. But eventually he went and sought permission from the OCS and they released us. And we went. That's when I decided I want to be a lawyer. I don't want to. So we went through school. I came from a very poor family. My father died when he was when I was very young. I think I was in standard 3 or 4. It's my mother who brought me up. Those days we used to have the pyrethrum crop. We used to work on the farm in the morning before you go to school. During the weekend, you pick pyrethrum and work and assist with your mom. You assist my mom. When I went to school, the first term, my mom gave me 1 shilling pocket money. That's what she could afford, 1 shilling pocket money. In school, she could not come to see me because she could not afford. In school, we used to have half term. Some of us stayed in school throughout the term because we could not afford. I used to be given fare back from Maranda. My mom would say, okay, your fare from here to Maranda is so much, 1 shilling pocket money. This is the fare back when the school closes. And she said, look, see you when the school closes. And that's the life we led. And we went. In that school, there is a headmaster who I can never forget. He's now deceased. He said, look, young people, you can be great people from here. You know, you can be a president. You can. We said, a school like this one, how can you get anywhere? I'm CJ today. From there, I went to Kisii High School. I wanted to do English literature, but I was told, look, nobody passes English literature here because we don't have good teachers and all that. Then I said, now what do? I couldn't get a combination. I said, somebody says, look, you can do geography, history, and economics. I said, but geography, I stopped it in Form 2. Then I had no combination whatsoever. Then I said, look, I want to do geography. I went to the class teacher, and I told him, I want to do history, economics, and geography. He says, yeah, go and get your sleep. I see how you scored. I said, no, you don't need to see it because I didn't do geography. He says, well, get out of my office. What are you talking? Get out of my office. I said, Mwalim, please allow me to do this because I don't have a combination. It means I go home. He says, you are mad. How can you even talk of that? We are not allowing anybody to come in and do that. We are allowing those who have passed with a given mark. I pleaded with him. Then he said, okay, but you shut up. You don't tell anybody that you didn't do geography. Because the class teacher, the one who was teaching geography, was a Mzungu. He could not hear of that. This class teacher was an African. He said, you shut up. Are you sure? He looked at my grades. He says, yeah, you can do this. He allowed me to do it. I was at C in class. Imagine, Form 5, geography, I stopped it in Form 2. So I went back, I made friends with Form 3, and they gave me their notes, they gave me the what, I was reading like double. And I told myself I will pass. You know what I got in geography at A level? A principal A. Economics, which I had not done in O level, I got a principal A. History, I got a principal B. And I went to the University of Nairobi. What am I telling you about that? I'm not bragging, but I want to tell you that determination can make you achieve what you want to achieve. Determination can make you achieve what you want to achieve. Sheer discipline of what you want to do, and you will be able to pursue your studies and become people this country can rely upon. You become people this country can rely upon. It does not matter where you come from. You are an orphan, but you are a son or a daughter of the living God. And as I told you, God cares for those people. If only you get that discipline. You don't go into bad company, you do your work and read consistently. You will be what you want to be. The fear of God, I keep emphasizing that. You know, when we were being interviewed for the position of chief justice, they said, look, we are looking for somebody of integrity, somebody who is honest, somebody who will not go, taking bribes and doing this, who will work and do the work the way he is required to do. They looked at my CV. They asked me questions for a long, long time, and eventually they picked me as the Chief Justice of this country. Challenging position, requiring a lot of things to do, but by the grace of God, I'm managing. Don't you think so? I'm managing. I'm managing. And I'm proud of being where I am. And I thank God. I say, God, from grass to grace. Are we together? From where? From grass to grace. Well, then what are you talking about? That you will not rise. All of you are not going to be chief justices, of course. All of you are not going to be chief executives of your own banks. But as I told you, God promises that if you follow his commandments and work hard, you will be at the top. The top does not necessarily mean being the president. We can only have one president in this country. Top, you will be a section head, you will be a department head, you will be this, you will be required to do things. As a person, you will be required to discharge duties. And let me tell you, if you are honest and you do things right, God will raise you up and he will take you very high. When I was in private practice as a lawyer, I used to practice in Nakuru. That time, the land office was only in Nairobi. So transactions, sales, transfer of land, and what we used to do, you could only bring them to Nairobi to register those documents. I came to Nairobi trying to register one document. I remember vividly, I had a check for 80,000 shillings. That was early 90s. 80,000 shillings stamp duty, banker's check payable to the collector of stamp duties. But I had a case I was doing in Nairobi. Then I went to land's office and I found a long queue. I find a friend of mine I know. I told him, look, can you please pay for me stamp duty on this one? Let me rush to court, deal with the case. I come back when I find you have stamped the documents for me, then I can lodge them. He says, 80,000? You're giving the government so much money? I looked at him, I said, what are you talking about? But that stamp duty, I can't get these documents registered. He says, no, we can have it done in another way. I said, which way? No, you will get a receipt, your document will be stamped, but all this money will not go to the government. I said, well, give me those, we'll talk later, give me my check back. I took that check back, and I went, I did my case, I came back, I lined up, paid the stamp duty. I went and took a photocopy of that check. When I gave it to the cashier, I asked him to stamp it and say received, so that he signs. Because I realized this check can be taken to be given. Immediately what came to my mind is that there are fake receipts here. This check can be given and issued a correct receipt, and me have been given a fake receipt. I said I will not have anything of the kind. Those are the challenges you will get when you come up. If I went into that way, I would not be CJ today, I can assure you. Because I would have said, okay, I've got 80,000 here, let me try another thing, let me do this, and you lose opportunities which God had planned for you. Live within your means, and you will make it to the top. Young people, I think I've told you enough. I am wishing you all the best. This is a wonderful opportunity you have. Many other children have not been able to get this position. And we want to thank Dr. Mwangi. Maybe we thank God because he came from a poor family. That poor family has taught him that because God has enabled him to come to this, he should help some other people. What we call social responsibility. He's a star in that. Tomorrow Mwangi will not be there. We want other Mwangis from among you. We want other Mwangis from among you. And that's the way God has planned it. When God blesses you, he wants you to bless others. God wants to bless you through, others through you. And I'm seeing very many Mwangis from here. I'm seeing very many Mwangis there. The greatest thing you are going to do to Mwangi, because you are not going to give Mwangi money. Mwangi is rich. God has blessed him with money. Instead, he's the one giving other people, isn't it? The greatest thing Mwangi wants from you, I don't know if he has told you, but I can imagine. The greatest thing Mwangi wants from you is to hear that Onyango, Orekeiwa, Hassan, he is now in such and such a university doing very well, and he has passed. He is now the chief executive of such and such a place. You are going to be there. You can make it. You can make it with the determination and the hard work and the straight life. Once again, lastly, let me tell you, God does not have second-class children. God has sons and daughters. Believe in that, and let nobody tell you or think about you that you are coming from here. Those things are useless. Those cars and other things people want to brag around with. I mean, you know, you don't just tell yourself, no, I don't want, I will get mine. I will get mine. These fellows are driving their parents' cars and what? I'll get mine, and you will get yours. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. A unique privilege for us scholars, and even more unique that with the kindness of the Chief Justice, he'll be able to respond to 2 or 3 questions from those of you who will want to ask first. So move to the